everyone, it's Daniel here. Today I'll be ranking every single Simpsons Season 1 episode. So yeah, before I begin, here's the DVD box set for the complete first season. Very nice. Just love the way it looks. I've done a review on this, by the way, so you can check that out. I uploaded it around November, December time last year. I can't remember now, it's a long time ago. But yeah, definitely worth it if you love Season 1, if you love The Simpsons in general. This is a great DVD box set to buy. But yeah. I won't be talking about the box set today. Instead, I'll be talking about the episodes themselves. So, unlike the other seasons, where there's around 20 to 25 episodes, this season has 13. So, yeah. Oh, well, you got to let it off. It's the first season. And to be fair, even though this is the first season, I still think it's really strong as a first season, in my opinion. There's no bad episodes. All the episodes go from really good to great. So, yeah. This list was really tricky for me. Most of these episodes could swap on a day-to-day basis. The ones in the middle are the ones I'm on about. My top 3 favourite episodes and my top 3 least favourites. They probably won't change at all. But yeah, this is my opinion. If your list is different, please do let me know in the comments. I'm planning on doing more Simpsons content in the future, and yeah. Without further ado, let's begin the list. So, yeah. At number 13, I'm going to go with Bart the Genius, which is the second episode of this season. So, yeah. Not a bad episode. I think this episode's really good. I mean, yeah. We get introduced to a lot of characters in this episode. Mrs. Krabappel, voiced by Marshall Wallace. Martin Prince, Dr. J. Pryor. Milhouse, even though he was in the Butterfinger commercial from 1989. Well, 80, I can't remember, but yeah, he was in a Butterfinger commercial. And weirdly enough, in this episode, his hair's black, even though it should be blue. It's blue, then black, and then it goes back to blue again. I don't know, but yeah, that's something weird I noticed. Yeah, the animation this season is quite rough, but you got to let it off. I mean, come on. I actually like noticing how like rough the animation was and the errors. You know, it's quite funny. Sort of like Thomas the Tank Engine, when you notice like one of the characters has the wrong face mask, that sort of thing. But yeah, anyhow, the plot of this episode, basically Bart cheats on his test. He basically like rubs off Martin's name off Martin's test and then puts his name on instead. And then they think Bart's a genius, and then Bart ends up having a meeting with Dr. J. Pryor, who usually appears like once, twice every season. But yeah, he gets moved to this like really smart school. He realises he doesn't fit in well with the other students because they're clever, way more clever than him. And yeah, he does this experiment in chemistry, like explodes, and then yeah, he gets sent back to Springfield Elementary School. Oh yeah, of course we get introduced to Principal Skinner. I mean, come on, what a legendary character. And yeah, yeah, the ending scene, it's a little bit predictable in my opinion. Yeah, Homer, Homer, in the episode, Homer and Bart's relationship is like sweet, you know, father to son, you know, hanging out and, you know, and all that. But when Homer's like, you know, washing all the chemistry stuff off Bart, and, you know, Bart ends up like owning up and admitting that he didn't actually pass the test. And then you kind of know Homer's going to get mad and start chasing Bart and trying to strangle him, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, I do like that fantasy sequence when Bart's trying to work out the math question, which is pretty funny, and Martin's the train driver. I do really like this episode, even though it's my least favourite. It's still a really strong episode, I think. I think all these episodes are solid. And yeah. But anyhow, this is a great episode, and yeah, even though it's number 13, you know, it is what it is. I know some people have this episode a lot higher, but yeah. But anyhow, moving on. My number 12. For my number 12, I'm going to go with Homer's Odyssey. Yes, I did write all this down, by the way. So yeah. So yeah, this is the third episode. The next episode after Bart the Genius. We get introduced to more characters here. First physical appearance of Mr. Burns. We get to see Smithers as well for the first time. Sherry and Terry, Otto Man, of course the bus driver. Basically, Bart goes on a school trip. Homer ends up like crashing into some like chemicals and whatnot. and then ends up losing his job. And then he goes into a proper depression mode, which this episode's really dark. I don't mind that. That's not why I've ranked this episode really like at number 12. It's still a great episode. And then Homer like attempts to end his life, which, oh my goodness. When I was younger, I was like, why is he doing this? Why is he tied to a rock? And then he ends up saving his family after his family go find him near the bridge. And then they almost get hit by a car, and then Homer saves them luckily, and then he starts this campaign thing. And he starts helping the community, and we also get introduced to Chief Wiggum and a cameo from Jasper Beardsley, which of course that's Abe's best friend from the retirement home. The animation, the crowd scenes in particular, the characters just look weird. I'm not even gonna say why, but I mean, you've got like a Siamese Bart thing in the background. You've got this onion head. What is going on with the animation here? I mean, come on. But you gotta let this episode off because it's the first season. I think because the animation errors, that's probably why I rank this episode lower. But I think the ending's really sweet. Homer gets his job back, and I think Mr. Burns is great. In this season, he was voiced by Christopher Collins, which, apparently he was really hard to work with. But Homer does stuff for the Springfield community. I think he does a great job, road safety and whatnot. And I just think this episode's really good. Quite a dark episode, but not bad for a first Homer episode. I think this was the first Homer episode. I could be wrong. I'm not gonna dive into the Simpsons shorts from the Tracy Ullman show, but that's my number 12, Homer's Odyssey, episode 3. For my number 11, I'm going to go with Moaning Lisa. Now, this episode, when I was younger, I couldn't really relate to the episode much. Nowadays, I can really relate to it. But why is Lisa sad? I know. I would understand why, but Lisa's sad. She refuses to play dodgeball. She gets a letter sent home about that. But and then she ends up meeting Bleeding Gums Murphy, a saxophone player. That scene though, like, the background is just gorgeous. The moon, the sky, it's just a really nice shade of blue in my opinion. But Lisa and Bleeding Gums Murphy become really good friends. Marge encourages Lisa to go to school. And then that scene's really sweet where Marge's like, if you want to be sad. And then she's like, I don't want to be. You've made me happy. It's such a sweet scene. And the B plot's absolutely hilarious as well. Where Homer's trying to beat Bart at this video game and ends up at the arcade. That bit's really funny in my opinion. I think the B plot in this episode is probably a tad bit stronger than the A plot in my opinion. But the ending's really, really nice, where Bleeding Gums Murphy sings the song him and Lisa wrote together. And I think this is a really good episode still. I wish we knew the reason why Lisa was sad. Like, if you're sad, then but, you got to tell your family, But you got to let her off. She's 8 years old, come on. Or, 7. I think she was 7 there, and then she turns 8 in season 3. Or doesn't she turn 8 like 3 times? I don't know. Simpsons, confusing show, but still. But that's my number 11, Moaning Lisa, episode 6. So, for my number 10, I'm going to go with the 10th episode of this season, which is Homer's Night Out, which a lot of people would say this is one of the weakest Simpsons episodes. I can understand why. I actually don't mind this episode. The first half with the spy camera, I mean, come on. But, where's my spy camera? Here's your stupid spy camera with the mail carrier. Just brilliant. Just a brilliant episode in my opinion. This is, especially the first half with Bart and his spy camera, Bart just being an absolute troublemaker as he always is, and then the stag do thing where Homer goes, he gets a bit drunk with his mates, and then this dancer called Princess Cashmere, ends up coming in and dancing with Homer, and then Bart takes a picture, and then the rest of the Simpsons family are having a meal, and it's a bit of an odd episode. And yes, I know Marge does end up crying and kicking Homer out. I know, just ridiculous. To be fair, I think this is one of the weaker Homer and Marge marriage crisis episodes, but like honestly. And then like I don't think this episode's that bad. I really don't. I think the marriage crisis thing, I'm like, come on. But yeah, later episodes did it better. I won't go into too much detail, but I want to carry on and talk about the episode. But yeah, Homer and Bart try to give Princess Cashmere a visit by going to different clubs and stuff. They end up finding her, talking to her, getting to know her better, and then the message is don't treat women like objects. Hey, and then for some reason Marge is at the club as well. I don't know how she knew, but yeah. Mr. Burns and Smithers, you know, I don't think they're massively interested in this episode, but yeah, I think in season 1 they're not the most interesting characters. Definitely season 2 onwards, where especially, is it 2 cars in every garage? I think that's what the episode. Oh, I can't remember what the episode was called, but yeah, it's the one with Blinky the fish, and then Mr. Burns eats him, has to have a bite of him, and then spits it out, and then he ends up trashing the Simpsons house with Smithers, and then Homer drops the barbs of that episode. I'll talk about season 2 another day, but yeah, from that episode onwards, the duo just get better from there. But yeah, Homer's Night Out, not a bad episode. I mean, the fact everyone knows that Homer's been dancing with this woman, so what? Well, he did give her like a couple of dollars, but yeah. But, you know, Princess Cashmere, this is the only episode where she has like a major role, sort of. And then later on, she's just kind of in the background, that sort of thing. Yeah, another Maggie Roswell character. Yeah, I'll talk about cast members and who they voiced another day. I really like to do a video sort of like that. But yeah, Homer's Night Out, number 10, episode 10. At number 9, I'm going to go with There's No Disgrace Like Home. Now, this used to be one of my favourite episodes, but it's gone down a little bit because, I don't know, Lisa seems to be, right, basically the plot is basically they go on, they have this, they go to Mr. Burns's, like, work party thing, where family are invited and stuff, and then, yeah, they bring jelly as well. I love the animation of the jelly, though. And then Homer realises how dysfunctional his family are compared to other families at the party. Marge gets drunk, and then they see family therapy from Dr. Marvin Monroe, which I think he's a very underrated character. Fair enough to Harry Shearer for quitting the character because his voice, you know, I'm not even going to bother trying doing his voice. But yeah, they go to family therapy. Beforehand, they give a few families a visit. They nearly get shot as well. And yeah, they go to family therapy. That seems absolutely hilarious. Where they're all just like pressing the buttons to zap each other. It's brilliant. And the electricity goes absolutely wild. But yeah, I think this is a great episode. Lisa, though, I don't know. In the earlier seasons, well, especially season 1, she seems to be like really childish, like sort of like the female version of Bart at some circumstances, especially in this episode. I mean, Bart and Lisa are supposed to be completely different characters. Lisa's the more mature one, the more clever one, and Bart's the more, you know, the more less intelligent one, the troublemaker, the Dennis and Menace out of the lot. Yeah, Marge getting drunk is absolutely hilarious with all the women and stuff, and then Maggie ends up with, you know, watching Happy Little Elves with the other babies. Just Maggie's just, yeah, adorable. And especially in the later seasons where like they're trying to get her to talk and all that. But yeah, There's No Disgrace Like Home. I think this is a really charming episode. And yeah, so that's my number 9 pick. There's No Disgrace Like Home, episode 4. So yeah. Number 8, I'm going to go with Some Enchanted Evening, the 13th and final episode, even though this was actually meant to be the first episode. But since the animation was, yeah, really rough, they had to redo it and they postponed it to the end of the season. But yeah, I still think this is a really strong episode. Lucille Bazowski, I think she's a great villain. Basically, Homer and Marge, they're at another crisis again. Marge ends up calling Dr. Marvin Monroe, his relationship therapy thing that they do on the radio, I think, something like that. And then, yeah, Marge is absolutely fuming at Homer. But then Homer gets back home. And then him and Marge end up going out for the evening, which, yeah, that's sweet. And yeah, of course he's got a rose and a box of chocolates, you know. to make her feel better. And yeah, she ends up even having to go at the kids. I know, quite a scary scene that is, and the telephone with teeth, you know, in it, like when she keeps getting all these voices in her head, it's just wild. But yeah, Homer and Marge end up planning on going out for the evening. Homer has to book a babysitter. It's funny when he's like, actually, the Simpsons are a very underrated family. I love that part where he has to pretend to be where he has to pretend that his family are the Simpsons, not the Simpsons. And the receptionist is voiced by the great late June Foray, who did plenty of voices for Looney Tunes. But yeah, Lucille Bazowski, yeah, she's like 6 feet tall, scary woman. The kids are forced to watch Happy Little Elves, and then yeah, she ends up like tying up the Bot and Lisa, and then they end up tying her, and then Marge ends up worrying about the kids, and then Homer and Marge end up paying her, and then out of nowhere the police come, and yeah, it's just a weird, sticky episode. I love it. I just think the scene with Miss Bazowski is absolute, or Miss Bots for short. I think her scenes are really intense. Like, I watched season 1 for the first time when I was about 11 years old. She didn't scare me too much, but yeah, she definitely would have scared me if I was much younger. And when Lisa's trying to call 911, and then she's getting dragged away, like the phone cable's getting dragged by Miss Bots, it's just wild. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen her come back. She's made like brief cameos on posters and stuff, but yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's my number 8 pick, Some Enchanted Evening, episode 13. Well, it was meant to be the first episode, but well, in production order, it's the first episode, but yeah, because of animation issues, anyhow, moving on, number 7, I'm going to go with The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. Now, this is a great Christmas episode. This is episode 1, even though it's actually episode 8. We get introduced to a lot of characters. Actually, Principal Skinner actually debuts in this episode, and Milhouse. It's because recently I've rewatched season 1 in production order. I think the production order for this season is better to watch than the broadcasting order. The other seasons just don't bother. Yeah, this is a great episode. This is a lot of characters introduced. Like I said earlier, Milhouse, Principal Skinner, Mr. Burns' voice is heard, Moe, Barney, just loads of characters. Santa's Little Helper. I'll talk about him in a bit, but yeah, plot of the episode. Homer, Marge, and Maggie go to watch the Christmas play thing that the kids are doing, and then basically just like, singing acts and stuff, and then Lisa does this really cool act with fire and stuff, and then Bob gets chucked out of the Jingle Bells choir thing for singing the wrong lyrics, and yeah, and then basically later on in the episode, Bart wants to get a tattoo, gets a tattoo. Marge gets furious because Bart wants to get a tattoo saying mother, but then ends up Mervyn Monroe, who's Dr. Marvin Monroe's brother. Mervyn ends up only doing the first 4 letters of the word, so it's just moth. And then Marge wants it gone, and then Bart has to have this operation where, like, is it an operation? Yeah, he gets it removed, and then he gets it removed, and then that's basically all the Simpsons money gone, so they have no more money. We also get introduced to Ned Flanders and his son Todd, which clearly the Flanders family are more richer than the Simpsons family, and more cooler looking, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. Well, I mean, they're pretty much what the Simpsons aren't, but yeah. Unfortunately, Homer doesn't have any money for Christmas presents. He ends up getting a job as a mall Santa Claus, which that job doesn't last long. He gets a really low paycheck as well, about $13, I think. And then he ends up betting money on Santa's Little Helper. Santa's Little Helper loses, which is a real shame. But then towards the end of the episode, Santa's little helper ends up running away from his owner, ends up jumping on jumping towards Homer, and yeah, pretty much the only Christmas present they got was a dog, and yeah, everyone's happy, and yeah, really sweet episode. Actually, like when Homer starts crying, like when a tear like drops in his eye, like that just breaks my heart. I love this episode. Great Christmas episode. I watch it most Christmases. We get introduced to Selma and Patty as well. Yeah, yeah. When they sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at the end, that's just sweet. And yeah, I just love this episode. Great Christmas episode. I love the plot, and yeah, a bit odd how it's a bit odd to start your show with Christmas special, but oh well, kind of makes sense at the time. December 1989. This episode came out on December 17th, 1989, which was 35 years ago. I know, crazy. But yeah, that's my number 7 pick. My number 6 is I've gone with Life on the Fast Lane, which is episode 9. Oh, I love this episode. It's Marge's birthday. Homer forgets. What an absolute dumbo. But yeah, they end up going out, inviting Patty and Selma as well. And then Marge gets a bowling ball for her birthday, and she gets mad. She ends up going bowling, meets up with this bloke called Jacques, voiced by Albert Brooks. I think he's incredible, especially when it comes to voicing characters in The Simpsons. Just a brilliant episode this is. We get an episode like this later on, Last Temptation of Homer, which that's a brilliant episode too, but I'll talk about that another day. Marge ends up sort of falling for Jacques. Helen Lovejoy bumps into the two of them, and then Jacques asks Marge, I think that's the bit, yeah, it's the bit where Jacques asks Marge to go for brunch. It's not quite breakfast, not quite lunch, yeah, that part, and yeah. And then Marge is sort of in a dilemma, sort of a dilemma, massive dilemma. Does she want to see Jacques or see Homer at the power plant? She ends up picking Homer, and those two end up walking off into sunset. Well, Homer's carrying Marge, and then all the workers are like, "Way to go, Homer!" Lenny says that, and then yeah, everyone's just clapping for him. And yeah, it's a really sweet scene. I love the music as well. Very much reminds me of the band Player, the band that did Baby Come Back, which was actually used in the episode Homer Alone. But yeah, this is a fantastic episode. The ending's really sweet, and yeah, you really hope that Homer and Marge, end up like still together at the end, because of course they've got 3 kids, and yeah, we do get an episode very similar to this later on, which is definitely better, but this episode's still really strong in my opinion, and Marge and Jacques seem to have a pretty good friendship, and yeah, I just think it's a great episode. So yeah, that's my number 6, Life on the Fast Lane, episode 9. For my number 5, I've gone with The Call of the Simpsons, which is episode 7. They basically get a camper van, go on a trip into the woods. They end up, the camper van ends up falling down the cliff. The Simpsons luckily survive. I bet that cost a lot of money, even though Homer couldn't afford the camper van he wanted. Still, I really like Cowboy Bob, played by Albert Brooks. He's quite fair with Homer, in my opinion. Quite a nice guy to talk to, I bet. Yeah, this is just a fantastic episode. Like, I love the little stories, We have pretty much 3 plots in this episode. Homer and Bart end up doing their own thing. They end up freezing cold because they've got no clothes, and yeah, and then they have to find food. Marge and Lisa are cool, those two just, yeah, they've got a campfire, they're cozy and whatnot. And then Maggie ends up getting kidnapped by bears, but they all end up treating her like a queen, which is really cute, and yeah. And when they say goodbye to each other, it's absolutely, it's cute as hell, honestly. But yeah, in real life, if your like child went near bears, you wouldn't want them to, you wouldn't want them going anywhere near them, because like bears are scary creatures, but these bears are really nice to Maggie and have sympathy for her. But yeah, and then Homer ends up getting like caught in the mud and stuff, and then I think he gets like bees in his mouth and stuff, and then gets mistaken for Bigfoot, and then Marge is like, "Oh, I used my husband Homer," and then yeah, it's a ridiculous ending, but I think it's hilarious, and I think this is a great episode. We get introduced to Rod Flanders, Todd Flanders' brother, and of course Ned proves that he's better than Homer, more wealthier, and just, you know, more cooler. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic episode. Some people might disagree, but yeah, I think Calling Simpsons is one of the strongest episodes in season 1 in my opinion. So yeah, my number 5 pick, and it is episode 7. Cool. So for my number 4, I'm going to go with The Creeps of Wrath, which is episode 11. So yeah, love this episode, absolutely brilliant. This would have worked well as a series finale, which in production order this was actually the last episode. But yeah, love this episode. After a prank in the school toilets involving a cherry bomb, of course Bart's responsible. Agnes Skinner, who is Principal Skinner's mother, gets involved. Well, she's a victim of the incident, and Bart ends up going to France as a punishment sort of thing, you know, student exchange sort of thing. In return, the Simpsons get an Albanian student called Adil, which he ends up he turns out to be a spy at the end of the episode. Homer and Adil's friendship throughout the episode is pretty cute, but you know, of course we know that Homer's going to pit Bart at the end of the episode as, you know, his ideal son, no pun intended. But yeah, Bart ends up living with these two guys in France. They treat him horribly, force him to squash grapes. He's not even allowed to eat the grapes. Do lots of dirty work around their farm. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. I did French at school, so I pretty much understood what most of the characters were saying. But yeah, Bart ends up going to the police. The police don't understand what he's saying. He ends up the policeman just gives him a piece of candy, and then after Bart eats the candy, he ends up talking French, which pretty wild scene, to be fair. Imagine just finding out you could talk a completely different language. I know, but yeah. Ends up talking to the policeman in his language, and yeah, it's just a fantastic episode. The ending's heartwarming, where Bart comes back from France with presents for his family, and just a brilliant episode. I love this episode a lot. It's one of the most underrated episodes in my opinion, and just a brilliant way to end off the series if you're watching this season in production order, which I would highly recommend. But yeah. Well, season 1 in production order. The rest of the seasons, don't bother. But yeah, so that's my number 4, The Creeps of Wrath, episode 11. At number 3, for number 3, I'm going to go with Bart the General, which is episode 5. I love this episode. Brilliant. We get introduced to Nelson Muntz. He ends up picking on Bart because of Lisa's cupcakes. You know, his 2 henchmen, you know, the weasels, end up eating Lisa's cupcakes. Bart defends Lisa. And then Nelson comes out, you know, he gets a nosebleed as well. But yeah, the fantasy sequences are strange, but I love them. Where Nelson's a giant and eats Bart, and then we get Bart's funeral, which, that's quite extreme. But yeah, it's season 1, so yeah. Bart goes to his grandpa for help. Grandpa Abe takes him to see Herman, who's this crazy guy. I think Herman's a great character. He's the character with the one arm who lost his arm on the bus, I think, or he got his arm out and then lost it. I think a bus ran over, so I can't remember. But yeah, enough of that. Anyways, just brilliant. I love the final scene where Bart gets this army. You know, just every scene, just like in this episode is brilliant. I think from this episode onwards is where like the Simpsons get stronger. Like the episodes, you know, it's where Simpsons is at its peak for me. This episode from this episode to like season 8, that sort of thing, that's when the Simpsons was at its strongest. But yeah, I love that scene where they're all just throwing water balloons, like Bart and his army are throwing water balloons at Nelson and the 2 weasels. Just fantastic episode, I love it. I love this scene where Homer's like, "Hey kids, can you keep it down?" And then Abe ends up throwing a water balloon at his own son, which is funny. I just love that scene a lot. But yeah, the ending's great. Nelson signs a contract. Everyone's all happy. They all eat cupcakes. And yeah, it's a cute ending. Yeah. So yeah, brilliant episode. Bart the General, I love this episode a lot. So yeah, it's my number 3 pick. My number 2, I'm going to go with The Telltale Head, which is episode 8. Now, this is a brilliant episode. After an uneventful Sunday at church, Bart ends up going out and then bumping into these bullies, Kearney, Jimbo and Dolph, which this is their first episode. And it's also Apu's first episode as well. A lot of characters introduced. Reverend Lovejoy, of course, the scene where Homer's listening to the game with his with Bart's headphones, and with the portable radio thing. Just brilliant. And then he's like, it's scored, it's great to see you all in church. That scene, that's just brilliant. Love that scene. This is a fantastic episode. I love it. And then after getting chucked out of the cinema, the trio end up being like, saying to Bart, imagine if someone cut off the head of Jebediah Springfield, but of course they're joking and being sarcastic. And then Bart ends up actually doing it, and then the whole town is like really upset. The family end up finding out, and then in return, Bart and Homer attempt to put the head back on, and then there's a massive crowd. Pretty much the whole town are after the Simpsons, after their blood. Even Selma and Patty, which that's a bit weird, but okay. But yeah, just a fantastic episode. The ending's really sweet. I love how the ending is actually the start of the episode, that sort of thing, and then Bart tells the story. He's like, it's going to take 23 minutes, and everyone's like, all right, go ahead. Yeah, it's just a fantastic episode. I love this episode. If you've not watched this episode, you need to watch it now. Just a brilliant episode, really strong for a first season, and proves that the Simpsons are getting better from here. But yeah, I know the animation's still rough, but come on, it's the first season. You got to let it off. Right, come on. Right, my number one. My number one is the one episode not talked about, and that is Krusty Gets Busted. Fantastic episode. We get introduced to Sideshow Bob, even though he was in the Telltale Head. Completely different design as well. He looked more like Sideshow Mel in that episode, kind of. But yeah, in this episode we get a proper introduction to him. We know what he's really like. He's evil. Basically, Krusty gets framed for something he didn't do. Homer's the victim of the... he's more of a witness. And yeah, that dive he does is absolutely hilarious. Where he's like, ah! And then dives into the potato chips. That's hilarious. Well, we call them crisps in this country, but yeah. For a purpose, talk about Simpsons, American show. I'm just going to call them potato chips, but yeah. Ends up going to court. We get introduced to Judge Snyder, which I think he's a great character. Next season we'll get introduced to Lionel Hutz, which, great character as well. Krusty Gets Busted, just brilliant episode, love it. And then Bart and Lisa end up trying to find clues that Krusty didn't do the... I can't talk now, that Krusty didn't do the crime. Just brilliant. And then we end up finding out that Krusty has small feet and he can't read. Krusty that robbed the Quickie Mart has big feet and can read. And just brilliant. And then the scene where Bart's exposing Sideshow Bob, that's just brilliant. I just love that scene. And bye bye to Sideshow Bob. Yes, so long, sucker. But we do end up seeing him again in Bart Gets an F. He makes a brief cameo in the snow scene. Black Widow was a great episode. Cape Fear, just nearly every episode of Sideshow Bob. He's a fantastic villain. One of the most interesting Simpsons characters. He's one of my favourite villains of all time. I absolutely love him to death. Voiced brilliantly by Kelsey Grammer as well. I think he's fantastic. But yeah. So that's my number one pick, Krusty Gets Busted. Yeah, it's not the funniest episode. The Simpsons isn't all about the comedy. This episode feels more like a comedy drama, like a whodunit sort of thing. The scene where Homer's laughing at the clowns is funny, and Chief Wiggum is like Simpson, which one? And all that, like just brilliant. Yeah, Chief Wiggum's taking it seriously, which later, like his character in this season is quite different from later on. Like he seems more intelligent, and I would say the same about Homer as well. Well, first half, but there's no disgrace like Homer. He seems to be the clever one. He's trying to get his family to be more functional. But yeah, from this episode onwards, he becomes more of a coward. Ends up talking about Selma and Patty behind the back, calling them the gruesome twosome, and it gets all caught on CCTV. Just a brilliant episode. I love Krusty Gets Busted. It's just a brilliant way to, sort of conclude the season. I think this would have been a great episode to end off the season. But yeah, we get to see more Krusty, more Sideshow Bob. And yeah, it's just a brilliant whodunit sort of story. But yeah, I love this episode. Like I said, it's my number one, and it will always forever be my favourite episode of season one. I always get excited when I watch this episode. Used to watch it to death when I was younger. Love this episode a lot. So yeah, that's my ranking of every Simpsons season one episode. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Let me know what your ranking is in the comments. If you agree, disagree, let me know. So yeah, thanks once again, everyone. Take it easy, and hopefully one day I'll do season 2 and review the box set as well. So yeah, take it easy, everyone, and I shall see you in a bit. Yeah, bye.